Penny.
Hi, Claire.
So we're obviously interim specialists within the in-house practice at Taylor Root. I think it's been a very challenging year to date. I think we're definitely coming out of that, and it's a sort of evolving landscape. But I just wondered, given your experience as an interim legal hiring specialist, what your experience has been over the last year, and kind of how that compares to other years.
Yeah, Claire, absolutely. And I'd agree. And thank goodness it's not 2023 anymore. It was a really challenging year for hiring managers across the board, but in particular within the interim and consulting market, which is unusual because normally when a recruitment market isn't quite as busy, so 2008, 2009, you know, the sort of the credit crunch, you know, Brexit, COVID, we remained relatively busy in the interim space because, you know, when there is challenges around headcount and budget, sometimes a good way around that for hiring managers is to hire good consulting and contractor talent, right? But we didn't see that last year, which was really unusual. We are, however, in 2024, as I say, thank goodness the market's changed because there's a lot more going on. We're much more busy already. But actually, one of the key things I think has changed over the course of the last sort of 10, 15 years within the interim space is actually how polished this market has become. So, you know, when I moved to London and began working at Taylor Root on the same desk, working with the same clients and candidates for the most part, you know, there was a real stigma attached to the interim and consulting space. Things like, you know, we were hearing feedback like jumpy CVs or why aren't they in a permanent job? And I just don't think we ever really hear that anymore, which is great. You know, I think the legal market was possibly quite a few years behind other sectors and you know, we are catching up, you know, hugely now, and we are, you know, as a market, we really have evolved. And what that means for our clients, for our candidates, and for us as the recruitment specialists is that the quality of candidates, the quality of experience, the caliber of experience, what these consultants bring to the table is probably better, in my opinion, than it's ever been. And as I say, from a client's perspective, there are some very good senior people in the market who are really bringing a lot of knowledge, a lot of business experience. You know, that these guys have seen best practice and probably in some cases worst practice. And, you know, they use all of that to be that sort of, as I say, interim solution. And actually, for lack of a better way of saying it, real value for money, which I also think is super important in this market. You know, we saw it last year as well. Budgets for in-house teams have tightened up, should I say? And I'd probably say that's across the board.
Yeah.
And actually, that's another really big point, I think, or question that I'm very, very regularly asked around what is more efficient, cost-effective, or actually, you know, what should I do, I guess, when hiring around IR35 requirements now? And actually, should I go down the day rate route? Should I hire someone on a fixed-term contract and offer benefits? I mean, are you seeing that on your side?
Yeah, definitely. I had a conversation earlier on today that was based all around that with a client. I think it's important to note that it's a very tailored conversation. So there'll be candidates who only want to go via a daily rate through an umbrella company. There'll be candidates who haven't ever done the daily rate model before and just want to sort of have the more straightforward approach, or not straightforward, but just the more known approach to them of going directly with the company on a fixed term contract. I think that if you're having someone come in on a sort of 3-month rolling, perhaps for a sickness leave, or perhaps if you're looking to make a permanent hire, but you want to, that might be a more lengthy process, you don't know how long that's going to take. I think having someone come on a daily rate, the daily rate model is more straightforward, it makes more sense.
So many of our clients think that hiring a consultant or an interim lawyer is just so much more complicated than hiring on the permanent side. And I appreciate there are different steps, but really, it isn't, right?
They turn up on day one and they're ready to go. So I think the key message here is that we really take that on. So we handle the onboarding, we handle the compliance, we handle the reference checks. I know a lot of the banks, I don't work with them per se, but I know a lot of the banks and FCA regulated entities, they need their own...
Very stringent.
Their own
very, very
things,
stringent, yes.
Which we can support on, and we'll do all the... I think just taking them through that kind of onboarding process. The conversation around IR35 comes up a lot. Ultimately, if it's inside or outside, that's something that we have capability to work with clients on. We have capability to do the assessment, the IR35 assessment. And we have a tool that kind of sits outside the HMRC website that is included in our sort of all-in cost, essentially.
And I think that really gives clients comfort that we've really, it's not just it's, somewhere in the middle, but actually we really have gone through the assessment so they can feel comfortable as to whether or not the consultant's role sits inside or outside of IR35, because it's ultimately managing that risk as well for clients, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
From a tax perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously you and I cover, we're both interim specialists, but we cover slightly different markets. I think maybe something that would be helpful to share is maybe a little bit about the sorts of profiles and backgrounds of the people that we work with. Do you find that there is that sort of group of lawyers now that you are being able to help who actually really need that sort of flexibility?
Yeah, so I think there's a real range. I work with people who are kind of on the more junior mid-level end, 2 to 6 PQE, I'd say, 2 to 5 PQE, who have potentially other ventures or who have been in sort of big law, who are taking a bit of a break, and they want to take on a role for 6 months and then pursue something else, or they want to do something 4 days a week and pursue something else on the side. Or you have people who have those childcare commitments and want to work kind of within the school year or kind of work it around school holidays and things. And then you do have people as well who work on a more fractional basis. I know we're seeing the word, the fractional GC.
Yes, absolutely.
More.
This is the new term.
Yeah. So those kind of people who sort of consult and offer advice to a portfolio of clients. So it really varies. I don't know if there's sort of difference in the types of candidates.
Yeah, I probably work at the sort of slightly more senior end of the market, but you're right. I mean, fractional general counsel, I think realistically that has been around a long time. There have always been very good senior lawyers who work on a fractional basis. But yes, that is the new sort of hot term. That is the way that it's been described in the market. But yeah, and we are seeing so much more of that. And I actually think that that's adding so much more to the interim market because, these are lawyers who you don't necessarily, for maybe more startups, when we're doing a lot of work with scale-up clients now, aren't we? So they don't always need that sort of, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but that's not to say they don't need really good legal advice and want someone in-house.
Totally agree on your points about the fractional general counsel. I think as much as Taylor Root's been always a traditional recruitment firm, we've got 35 years of experience, we work in quite a traditional way, but we are working more and more in quite an agile way with smaller stage, early stage businesses, working to recruit in their sort of first hires, and sometimes it is quite beneficial to do that on an interim basis.
Absolutely.